RiverBender.com.
If I had 2 dozen roses and an old bottle of wine, if I really could have hung the moon, would it change your mind? If I could cry a little harder and get a little less sleep at night, if I had
The prohibition didn't exist over the weekend or last night, I can tell you that much, but it did exist 100 years ago.
Yeah,
Lacy
for a
McDonald,
while.
you have a birthday coming up.
I do.
And 25?
Yes, I'm turning 25.
Well, you know that I'm always one for surprises. We had to surprise you a little bit. Donnie, sit down, man. How are we doing? I just talked to you, what, Saturday?
This is good because he knows more probably about Prohibition than I do.
Well, we're not talking about prohibition.
No, we were talking about Lacy
Well,
McDonald and your contributions
okay.
today. I kind of had to throw this out on the surprise for you. Slide this microphone back over in the middle here.
Oh, that's why it was in the middle.
So, well, you know, things happen. And we were talking, and John Lindsay and I were the other day, and Don and I were, just about really, I don't think the public and community know how much research you've been doing the last couple of years and how much you've been able to discover. You want to fill us in, Don?
Well, she's an actual treasure. And I mean that. And happy birthday this weekend.
Thank
by
you.
the
And I'm
way.
turning 40. I don't just look really old for 25. Just putting that out there.
To put things in perspective, I was 70 last weekend, so no, you got a ways to go. No, we've got several people here in town that really enjoy history, and we like working on it. And I got to learn from some really great people, Charlotte Stetson and Charlotte Johnson and Judy Hoffman. But Lacy brings a different point of view because she's really not a native, and it really helps us because we think we know what we're doing, and then she straightens us all out and lets us kind of puts things in the right perspective. But she's also got a very good talent for being inclusive. The display we did at the train station is probably the best example. And Lacy was primarily the one responsible for this, but you know, business is usually typical old white dudes.
Right.
And she was kind of our conscience in a way. She made sure that we included people. And did a very good job of it. Women and blacks are very well represented in the display, and again, this is her point of view, which helps us a lot. We're kind of the old guard historians, and what she's done with what she's got is incredible. The digitization of all the photographs and all the telegraphs, and all kinds of other stuff, and we're just kind of getting started anyway. I got a massive stuff to give her too. So.
Oh yeah. Like, do you have any storage space?
Yeah.
How full is your office right now?
How many boxes can you take this
Right.
week?
Well, Lacy,
Yeah.
when did you come into town?
I started working at Hainer in February of 2012, which is right after I moved here.
And where'd you move from?
I moved from Champaign. I had just finished my master's degree at the University of Illinois, so
Did
I was working
you know at the time about the truly rich history that was around Dalton, or is it something that you kind of stumbled into?
Sort of.
Okay.
Because my husband Jeff grew up here, and so I visited for a number of years to check things out, and he told me some stuff about the history and took me on little tours around Alton. So I had an idea, but I had no idea how. And it's not even just that Alton has a rich history, it's that it's been collected really well for so long. So like a lot of places have had a newspaper since the 1800s, but it might not have been preserved in a way where you can just search for keywords around it or look through pages like I do right now, look through pages of the 1924 newspaper like it's something today. So I just want to say I'm glad that I can continue that legacy of collecting and making things available. Another person, Shirley Portwood, who I kind of want to get on at some point.
Oh, yeah, bring her on.
Can I bring her
Yeah,
on
for
sometime?
sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't care.
I think we've talked about that before because she does all the Alton school case, like the segregation
Oh,
case
wow, yeah.
from 1897. She's amazing. Charlotte Stetson, Charlotte Johnson, working with John Lindsay. There have been so many people that have been very, very generous. Judy Hoffman, before she died too, I miss her all the time, have been very generous with their work. No one has ever made me feel like I was encroaching. Everyone has just been so welcoming and so open to my ideas on things. And so the support that I've had has been incredible, because it really does feel like I get to carry on this legacy, and everybody's really excited about that. And it would be something that, people could feel very protective of. And I haven't had that feeling at all. It's been really open.
Don, you've done this for quite a bit with research and putting projects together, and you hit on something I think is very important, is the difference of perspectives, and to have those different perspectives and opinions. How important is it when you're putting on something, like the displays at the train station or any project, to have a different perspective than what you guys are used to having, and filming on the value of Lacy's throughout the years?
Well, when you've done, and let's take a common example, like the Paisaw bird. It's been done over and over and over again. Not always correctly, but it's been done quite a bit. You tend to get kind of in a rut, might not be the right word, but you kind of go with the flow after a while.
You get in a box.
When we get involved in something, the research gets a little deeper, and it gets the perspective gets a little deeper and broader, because of, again, we've heard it, but Lacy has it, and it does make a big difference. And she's a very good writer, thank God. That's one great thing about growing up and working across the street from the Telegraph. Every time I wrote something, I'd take it over and give it to Steve or Charlotte, and they'd pencil it for me, which is very helpful,
Yeah.
I learned the value of not using commas real early. But it's fun, and it's also fascinating. There's a whole lot of things we haven't even touched yet, and some things that we could really do better. We need to probably revisit the Lincoln Heritage Trail that we did. That was kind of before you a little bit.
That was before me, yeah.
But same type of structured thing. But it's been done now for probably 20 years or something like that, and it probably, at least we need to check and make sure everything's in good shape. It's just things get done, and then, like the one downtown, there's a Barker across from the Franklin House. It's been moved 5 or 6 times during all the construction processes down there, and for a while it wasn't even there. We had to go looking for the doggone thing. So, but it's and the library continues to, enhance its collection. Wow. The things that are digitized you have access to online now are. It used to be you had to go down, look at the city directories and see which building was in which location over a period of time. It's a good research tool. You can go back, like what was Cat Daddy's before it was Cat Daddy's, or whatever. Like we were there for the party this weekend. That was the very first question that I got asked when I walked over there was, what was here in the open space where the building burned that used to be next door, Well, you can go to the library, go through the city directories. Now they're digitized.
Right.
So you can go to it online. And this is what she's brought to us, and it really helps a lot research is so much quicker now than it used to be.
I couldn't even imagine, seriously, man.
No.
How many people have reached out that you both know that maybe they were doing their own family research and they were looking at things happening locally? Have you had some feedback about the digitization of files and how imperative it was?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
We've gotten, and it's also made it easier for people to figure out what we have.
Yeah.
So now you do a Google search for something like a building in Alton, or the Paisaw bird is a good example. We had the Chicago PBS station get in touch with us a couple years ago to get Paisaw bird photos, historical photos, and they had found it through our website, and then were able to contact me, and I could see what else we had that wasn't available yet. Because Don and Charlotte Stetson, about 15 years ago, digitized around 6,000 photos from the Telegraph collection, and we now have gotten all of those up on our Illinois Digital Archives collection, so you can just look at all of them, search them, download them for public or for private use, and then you can get permission from the Telegraph to publish them, or like for PBS to use them on their show. And we have, and this thanks to Don paying the people that were pulling stuff out of the Telegraph building when it was after it was sold and Hearst was taking stuff out. We have about 100,000 negatives that were in cabinets.
Oh my
that
gosh.
the library has since gotten digitized. So I have access to those, and my staff member George, pretty much every hour he works at the library, he's there about 9 hours a week, goes through the physical negatives and transcribes what's ever on them onto the digital file so that we can search for them. So if you don't find something in our online collection, you can contact me and I'll see if we have it kind of in the back end before it's
Put it
all
out.
the way
Yeah.
put
Well,
out
and
there.
families can also do this from home
Yes.
in New England or
Yeah.
in California because it's online now, and they're granted access, and it works real well. People are really excited. I get calls all the time. Somebody said I should call you. Okay, I'm honored, but you need to call there, 462-0677.
I like that you
Push
have it
number 4.
memorized.
Well, something important to highlight on this too
Yeah.
is the fact that not a lot of communities have the database that you guys have developed through the years, and it's a very special treat for all of us to know. I mean, we really are versed in our history. We have a lot of documents. We have all this saved.
We're very fortunate because we have a taxing district that supports this history.
Yep.
When you have a Macoupin County Historical Society in Carlinville, it's a club more or less, and they've raised their own funds, and they're not. But these people have a responsibility as a taxing body to their constituents,
Yep.
which is a different relationship. It's a little bit more official, and the difference is dramatic. I mean, I did some research up in Carrollton and Carlinville on Stephen Colbert's ancestors for Henry Louis Gates' program on Channel 9, which he never paid me for.
Tough world we live.
We found some pretty neat documents. Actually, in Carrollton, his great grandfather's naturalization papers, which they used on the show, which was kind of fun. But it was tedious. And when I was doing the research on the prison, which has kind of really got this big ball started, John Miller from the Telegraph held a meeting down at the council chambers and said, we need minor history. We're not doing a good job of using our history as a magnet for tourism.
Right.
Which was correct at the time. It was very poorly done. And I got very interested in the prisons. I spent 2.5 years on and off in front of the microfilm machine transcribing the prison records. There's 13,000 lines with about 9 columns in it. Took a little while.
Oh
But,
man.
There's better ways to do that now.
What a testament, though, to how important that digitization is, though.
It's huge. And it's also, you don't have to know what's there like you did before. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember once I can't remember what I was looking for exactly, but the Telegraph during WPA, they digitized all the newspapers. They had people come in, they put them on index cards.
They indexed all the newspapers.
What did I say?
Digitized.
I said they indexed them. I'm sorry. And there were 4 or 5 orange books that you could go through. But the way they were categorized, it was really kind of a jigsaw puzzle to figure out what category you were looking for to find what you wanted. I don't remember what it was, but on the left-hand side of the page, here's this article about George Huber's wife was killed by a train at the Glass Works. It was my grandfather's first wife. I thought she had died in the flu epidemic. But she was struck by a train picking up her first paycheck down at,
Oh man.
And it got even deeper because the person that took her there was my best friend's grandmother. I mean, it's a small town.
Yeah.
That was one of those, you just, by chance, I stumbled onto it because I was looking for something else. You don't have to do that anymore. You just type in Huber, and there it is, Then you may have to do it more than once. It's not, it's not ideal when it comes, you're not going to get everything right up front every time, but if you're diligent, you'll find it.
Well, and we still use those indexes that the WPA did.
Wow.
And we've digitized them. So now I can it's more than 1,000 pages, all put together with all the books put together because I put them all together. And so you can go onto that document on archive.org, which we've uploaded, and then just type in a word and it does a word search. Most of what I do is to make things easier for myself, and then it works out because it makes things easier for everyone else too.
Well, and obituaries are a godsend when it comes to people doing their ancestry, because it paints your whole life all at once, and at least it gives you some names you can then key off of, and go elsewhere. And before, finding an obituary was not easy,
You know,
It is now.
Donnie, we were just talking about that a couple of weeks ago because we had an individual call the building,
Right.
and the individual was pretty upset because they didn't have a lot of answers and they were trying to put pieces together. What do you think I did? Tell her to call Lacy.
Yes.
And, you know, were you able to at least help her start the process?
What we try to do, because the person that she was looking for either didn't die in Alton or died in Alton before we have consistent newspapers. Like it was like, it might have been like 1860 or something. And so
Okay.
then it's, you know, we might have the Tuesday edition, but we don't have the Friday edition. So I couldn't find what she was looking for, but I always try to send you to the next place. So I know that I gave her a next place to look, some alternate things to look for, some different names. So even if we don't find the exact thing people are
Yeah.
looking for, we try to give you something.
And that's huge, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just the fact that you know that you have a body that is willing to help you discover your family's history a little bit more. Now, you guys have worked on a couple of projects over the years. Which one is the favorite? Is it the train station? Is there a certain project you two kind of hold near and dear?
Thanks to the graphic artists. I mean, let's give due where due.
Yeah.
Right.
When Lacy was rather busy the day that they dedicated the train station, she was having her second
And
child.
baby, I called the mayor's office from the hospital and I said I'm not going to make it to the dedication. I was upset too because Dick Durbin was going to be there, and I was excited about seeing I got to see it a week beforehand, and my son was born 11 days early. He was fine, but so I literally the night before had been like, this baby can come after tomorrow and we'll be good. And then midnight, I was at Alton Memorial Hospital.
But when we walked in the
yeah.
room, John and I walked in, I said, damn, John, we did that. I mean, because they gave us 20 days.
Wow.
20 days. And we compiled all these photographs and all this information, created a timeline, which you can see out the train station. But the graphic artist did a marvelous job with it. I mean, I can write and I can research, but I don't have a creative bone in my body. I mean,
Yeah.
That's not me, you know. But these guys did a marvelous job. It's really nice. It's the most visible and the most striking of all. You know, everything else is sort of in pamphlet form, and you got to go around and find things. But in this case, it's there, and it's pretty neat.
Man, that's cool. Lacy, any thoughts? Is it the train station for you too?
Oh my gosh, there have been so many really amazing things. Like every time I'm like, this. Like the Newton gravestone dedication was really, really special to me. That's another one where it's permanent. Like a lot of what we do is really cool, but it's not like a permanent monument. And the train station is like that. The Newton gravestone is like that, where we had these really important people who was the first black graduate of Alton High, and his wife, who was the founder of the St. Louis Colored Orphans Home,
Yep.
were just in the cemetery with no marker. And Don and I,
terrible.
went out. Don helped him figure out where they were. We got that stone put in. We did the dedication.
That's right. Okay, I remember interviewing you about
Yes,
that. That's
yeah.
incredible.
So that one, it feels really special to me too. So yeah, like figuring out who's missing is a big part of what we've done in a lot of the projects we've worked on. Like, and that's how you have a more full picture of who lived in Alton and what they contributed.
Man, you know what? I was telling Lacy this. You know, for being historians, you guys are hella the FBI agents. You guys are to find some of this
yeah.
information, because I really don't know how some of this comes together. It's a lot of reading and a lot of putting the pieces together. Now, Lacy,
Yes.
we've been talking for 20 minutes,
Okay.
and I have not asked you about your article. Would you like to fill Donnie in on what you wrote about this week?
Prohibition!
So, what was it like 100 years
Oh my
ago?
gosh. Well, my favorite thing about that, Prohibition was a violent time. There was a lot going on that wasn't good, but there were also a lot of kind of ridiculous stories around Prohibition. Like, one of the things I talked about was people, the police, trying to prove that places were selling alcohol, but they would come into an establishment and the guy in charge of the booze pitcher would just pour it down the drain. I mean, you could be like looking them in the eye and just pouring it down the drain, and they're like, well, guess we can't arrest anyone because there's no booze here. So this Officer Dwyer was in this article. He got into a struggle with the guy that was guarding the pitcher, and then they smashed it in the struggle, and the contents spilled, so they couldn't use it as evidence. Like, that was that. And then this same guy, it's not an article, but he got bitten by a dog 2 weeks later. Like, being
They
an
were after
Officer
him.
Dwyer in 1924 was not a good thing. But it was stuff like that. And I should say this too: the Alton Odyssey tours have a prohibition tour right now, and they have a lot. They've used a lot of our research, found some more stuff, and they're doing a pretty cool prohibition tour around Alton. So they've got some of the more serious stories and some of the more kind of ridiculous.
And this is one that's hard to research for two reasons. Well, taverns in Alton are hard to research. Paul Cowsley's sister was killed by a drunk driver. And he refused to, if there was an incident in a tavern on Broadway, it would say a business establishment in the 300 block of Broadway. It will not name the place ever.
Wow.
So we can't go back and look up Forkyville out in Fosterburg, which is a big gambling joint. There were five big places in Alton where there were hot spots for gambling. And Lou Gilbert, who owned Gilbert's Carriage House, his father-in-law was what they called a bag man. He would go from one location to another, making $1,500 a week during the 30s.
Oh my!
That's how much gambling was going on here.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, I should write about gambling too.
Yeah.
Fosterburg was funny because in 1907, Illinois had a local option law so that different precincts could decide if they were going to stay wet or go dry. And in Madison County, Fosterburg was the only place that voted to be dry, but they didn't have a saloon or anything either.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't like nothing changed, but they were like, we're going to be dry.
It stayed dry until almost 15 years ago.
Are you? I had no idea.
Well, first of all, they didn't have a call for it. But the other thing was they were adamant about it. We used to have horse races out of the Boots and Saddle Club out there, which is in Fosterburg, and they wanted to, sell beer or at least allow people to. That wasn't, we did it anyway. But Fosterburg, for instance, the Cloverleaf Golf Course was the Gabriel Dairy Farm. Well, they'd bring their milk in those nice stainless steel containers, and they'd drop the milk off, and then they'd go down to the Pepsi plant, and they'd fill them up with hooch and take them back out to Fosterburg, and the boys from Benel would come down and pick them up and take them north.
See, I don't know any of this
How
stuff.
incredible did this interview turn out?
If it wasn't in the newspaper, I don't know.
I
it, but
got to
now it
ask
does.
you about one part of this article that you wrote. The one that kind of stuck with me is several weeks later, on the 24th of July, the Alton Evening Telegraph printed a very poetic, Donnie, account of moonshiners in Jerseyville's Oak Grove Cemetery. Tell me about this story.
Okay, so the sexton of the cemetery, Strother Kennedy, observed figures flitting about in the graveyard and was greeted by the odors of moonshine floating about on the morning breezes. At first, I just cut and pasted that entire paragraph because it was so beautifully written. Then I changed a couple things. But the sexton basically warned these guys, hey, it's prohibition, you're not supposed to be drinking. And they left behind their liquor, and he turned it into the city authorities, but they couldn't do anything because, again, they didn't know whose it was.
That is so awesome. Now, was there organized crime with the gambling around here in Alton, in the area? Was there really?
Yeah, Buster Burton was one of Al Capone's boys. He lived down in Hartford, or farther south actually. But it was pretty straightforward, you know. And it involved 2 or 3 families. We don't need to talk about names, but some good friends of mine. I mean, they're families, but Alton was pretty wide open during the Depression and thereafter. Like I said, my friend owned Forkyville, which was out there at the corner of 140 and Fosterburg Road, and there was a payout window in the back of the bar where, with the bars and like you would find at a racetrack or bank, and it was still there, and it was also burn marks on the upper city. He got firebombed 3 times. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, one of my volunteers, Ann Davidson, wrote a bunch of she did a bunch of research, wrote a great article. It's not up anymore. I need to put it back up. But in 2016 about Prohibition in Alton, which is what the Alton Odyssey Tour was inspired by. Okay. And she talked a bunch about all the different organized crime, how many police officers were on the take. It was a lot.
Well, one of kind of iconic pictures that we have is of all this this distillery material down in front of City Hall, and they're auctioning it off to give the money to the Salvation Army. But the matron, Sophie DeMuth, big woman is standing on top of one of these barrels, and she's the imposing part of the whole picture. It's pretty neat picture.
She's awesome.
That's
I could
really
write about
cool.
her because she's got a great story.
She had several responsibilities, and I can't remember the title that she had, but matron seems to be part of that.
Police matron. She was the first police matron. I know that.
Wow.
She was one of our first characters in the first year we did Vintage Voices, way back whenever that was. Lacy's very, very instrumental in that too, by the way.
I wanted to ask you about just the work that you do on that too. As we're just kind of wrapping it up and celebrating your birthday, we had this planned for quite some time that this was going to happen this way.
Thanks.
And take me through just working with the crew at Vintage Voices, working with folks like Donnie. How important is a Vintage Voices for the work that you do at the Genealogy Local History Library and just for our community as a whole?
I love it because then you get to research people's lives that you wouldn't even know about otherwise, especially if it's someone that didn't have descendants.
Yeah.
And so there's no one now trying to do that genealogy research, and we get to delve really, really deeply into their lives. I become like very impressed by things that I never knew about before, and like just people's contributions. And so we just gave out the research packets for this year last week, and yeah, it's really incredible to just get to see what, for instance, when I go to the cemetery now, I like recognize people, and I'm like, oh, you're the one that, fought for the schools to be desegregated.
Wow.
You're the one that brought music to Alton. So it's just really cool because it kind of brings you back to what one person can do and how much their lives affected the people that were around them in that time and how they affect us today too.
And some of the characters, one for instance was a lady that had a boarding house down on Bell Street, and there was a flash flood, unfortunately, like yesterday, which is tragic.
Yes,
but
it is.
Sorry, she basically what we talked about was a one-day incident in her whole life, but it was she saved people's lives before she was swept away and drowned.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just one person, but it's in one day actually. But it's a significant little story,
Yeah.
And she was just a regular person,
Yeah.
Man,
But we get to give her
Her
due, like
due,
the
yeah.
acknowledgement of
100%.
what you contributed.
One final question, because I got to talk to Madeline Eads. They have a
Okay.
huge sidewalk sale coming up. There is a house on, I always forget the darn, Henry Street, and it has an American flag, and it's a big white house, and there's like stairs that go over the top of it. A Supreme Court justice lived there a long time ago for the 13th Amendment.
Oh, you're talking about
that's
Lyman Trumbull?
now.
Oh, yeah, Lyman Trump.
Yeah.
Well, can you guys explain to me who he is and the importance? Because this is like a big deal, and no one really talks about the house.
He was United States Senator from Illinois, and he got elected senator. In the days that he got elected, the 9 congressmen from Illinois voted for the senator, not the general population. There were 4 candidates: Lincoln, Douglas, Trumbull, and a guy named Davis, I believe, who was pro-slavery. Well, Lincoln gave up his votes to Trumbull in order to get Trumbull elected so this pro-slavery guy wouldn't.
Wow.
And the backlash from that was his wife, Mary Todd, and Julia James, who was Lyman Trumbull's wife, were best friends. They were matrons of honor. Mary Todd never spoke to her again. She thought there was some sort of conspiracy going on. Yeah, but he was instrumental in composing the 13th Amendment. He wasn't the only one, but
Right.
He ended up in Chicago. He's not been one of our persons of interest in the cemetery because he's up there. But
I just had to ask because I drive by it. And I remember Carl Day when I was in high school explaining a little bit of it, but I can never remember.
Yep.
All I know is Lacy, happy birthday. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
Saturday. And Donnie,
Thank
thanks for
you.
coming by and making this special. Take a quick break on this Wednesday morning. Afternoon is when we play the Cat Daddy's Retirement Show live for the first time. And you guys are really going to want to see this. I know someone in studio that was on that show. And we'll come back before that, though. We'll talk to Madeline Eads, Coco, and Oak, learn more about the sidewalk sale and see what trouble I can cause on a Wednesday morning.